Liverpool face an injury crisis. There's a secret meeting at Bayern Munich, first steps of Mourinho at Spurs, the Eredivisie stands against racism, and a transfer roundup, all coming up in the next few minutes, as I'm your host, Matt Froelich. You are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First off, and before anything, if you're wondering where the power rankings are, well, it's been a little international break, so they will be back, as always, next Thursday. But into our first story of the day, and it's Liverpool's injury crisis ahead of their weekend game against Crystal Palace. Now, we all know that Mo Salah came off against Manchester City, but since then, there have been further ankle injuries for Andy Robertson, meaning both him and the Egyptian forward didn't take any part in the international break, and now it looks like Joel Matip may also miss out on the trip to Selhurst Park. Basically, they're pretty covered in every position, so I'm not sure it's actually that much of a crisis. As for Mo Salah, well, Divock Origi can come in to replace him. Matip hasn't been seen since the 1-1 draw at Old Trafford, and Lovren's filled in well, and Joe Gomez is back in the squad. And in the case of replacing Andy Robertson, they don't actually have another left back, but I'm sure James Milner will be more than willing to do the job. What it does mean is that Liverpool probably look set for another victory against their very goal-shy Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson just can't seem to get the guys firing in front of goal, and it looks like Jurgen Klopp may pick up another 3 points to go on top of the 3 they picked up against Manchester City last time out. But moving on to Bayern's secret meeting with the Italian agent Giovanni Branchini, who apparently brought the likes of Carlo Ancelotti and Pep Guardiola to the German champions. He's now looking to set up their new big manager, despite the fact that Bayern have named Hansi Flick as interim coach. It looks like they may be willing to stick with him until the end of the season, or for the next few months at least, but in the long term they want an experienced manager to take over at the helm. Now, of course, 2 particular names popped up in this meeting, the first being the recently unemployed Maurizio Pochettino, and the second being PSG's Thomas Tuchel. Now, of course, they'll have to pay to release Tuchel from his contract, but they may pay him just a little bit less than Pochettino would charge. Tuchel, of course, did formerly coach Dortmund, Bayern's biggest competitors in the Bundesliga title race, but that's never really stopped them before, and I don't think it will stop them again, especially when it comes to signing players from Dortmund. Talking of players, though, and apparently one other name is also set to be mentioned in the meeting, and that is Leroy Sané. The Manchester City winger is of course injured with that ACL injury, but that hasn't really deterred Bayern Munich from still having big interest in bringing the German winger to the Allianz Arena. Even though there's an uncertain date about his return to first team action, transfer options have been discussed, and they may have to part with over 100 million to secure his services. Next up though, and to Jose Mourinho's first day at Spurs. Yesterday, Wednesday afternoon, he took his first training session, and many of the key Tottenham players were there. Mourinho said he was delighted with the squad in his first interview. He's super happy to be there, and he hopes to bring a load of passion and happiness to the club. Of course, what he also needed to bring in was a whole new backroom staff after all the backroom staff followed Pochettino out of the club. This includes João Sacramento, who he has never worked with before as an assistant manager. This has all come about because basically Sacramento was at Lille, where the sporting advisor was Luis Campos. He happens to be a good friend of Mourinho, and in fact may actually be coming into Spurs as the sporting director. So he recommended the new assistant manager and the goalkeeper coach in Mourinho's back team staff. But after all this, and a rather exciting first day for Mourinho taking charge of the new players, there was actually a little bit of a news story coming out that he wasn't even Spurs' first choice. Reports have it that Daniel Levy contacted Leicester about bringing Brendan Rodgers to North London, but they quickly rebuffed that idea, having only just brought him in from Celtic at the start of the year. Now, this move literally would have made Spurs the most hated club in the Premier League, I've no doubt. Everyone's second favourite team is Leicester because they're that cool sort of young English side playing a good brand of football, and they're not really offensive or challenging anyone in the top 6. This season, of course, they are in the top 4 and will probably get in there. But even then, I mean, they don't challenge them in terms of the rivalry, in terms of the history. Basically, all the top 6 clubs absolutely hate each other, and everyone's favourite outside is Leicester. So Spurs went and took Brendan Rodgers from them like taking candy from everyone's favourite baby. They'd definitely be absolutely hated. And next up, to a quick story from the Dutch Eredivisie and Eredivisie, the one below that, where this weekend in every single game, none of the players will be playing in the first minute. This will be at the same time that the text "racism, then we don't play" will appear on all the screens around the stadiums. This has basically come to the fore from a game between Den Bosch and Excelsior, where the Excelsior forward was receiving some racist abuse before all the players walked off the pitch. He did then come back on and score a goal, which was absolutely great, but things didn't quite stop there. After the match, the Den Bosch manager, and wrongly so, called him a little man for going ahead and antagonising all of the home fans. Of course, once they actually learned about what happened, they did go and make an apology to the player, and everything seems to be sorted on that front. But as a wider thing, racism definitely isn't sorted in football, so it's good that the Eredivisie and the Eredivisie are making a stand. So lastly but not least, we come to a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news, where there's a whole lot of returns going on. First off, Lucas Podolski is going to return to Poland after his Vissel Kobe contract runs out in Japan. Javi Martinez is in talks with Athletic Bilbao about a return to his his former club. Mino Raiola's talking with AC Milan about bringing Zlatan back to Italy. And lastly but not least, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is stalling on signing a new contract at Arsenal as he waits to see if there's any concrete interest from Barcelona. So there you have it. That's all from me on today's Daily News. Make sure you let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.